Okay, next is digital certificates. And a digital certificate is used to prove the ownership of a public key. Now, there are a number of components that comprise a digital certificate. You don't have to really know all of these. I just simply want to give you an idea of some of the common components that make up a certificate, just so you're aware of what they are. They have the serial number, the subject, and again, if I can back up one, when you go to apply for or get a digital certificate, you can either do it in-house. If it's within your own network, you can self-sign a certificate. But typically, if we're talking like on the internet, you would get a certificate from either VeriSign or Thought, or there's a number of kind of worldwide recognized certificate authorities or CAs. They issue the root level certificates to all of the major entities out there. Let's say, for instance, Amazon in this example. Amazon gets a digital certificate. It has their public key in that certificate that's used to basically give out to the outside world. And within that, it has valid from and valid to dates, the key usage, the public key itself, so on and so on. So what happens is, in a digital certificate example, let's say for instance we have a client PC, and that client wants to shop on Amazon. Okay, in this case, a web server. Well, this is a fairly simplified version, but just so you kind of get the general process. That client would connect to Amazon. Okay, the client connects to the web server. The web server has a certificate, and it basically contains the public key. So the web server would send its public key to the client PC. Again, remember, this public key private key is an asymmetric operation. So, public key is sent to the client. The client would then establish a session or create a session key, and it would encrypt the session key with the web server's public key. Now, you might ask, well, why is it doing that? It sounds like an extra step. Well, it is, but the fact remains, symmetric session or symmetric algorithms, like we talked about previously with block ciphers and stream ciphers, are very low overhead compared to asymmetric, where we have this decrypting and encrypting of a public key private key. Okay, it's very resource intensive. So we don't use that to establish the entire session. We simply use the asymmetric version, okay, the PKI in this instance, to simply encrypt the session key. The session key is symmetric. So, as I mentioned, the web server will send its public key, the client PC establishes or creates rather a session key, encrypts that session key with the web server's public key, sends it back. The client then creates a session key, encrypts it, sends it back to the web server, as I mentioned. The web server then decrypts that because, if you recall, public keys and private keys are linked. All right, the only thing that can decrypt the public key is the private key. So, having sent that, the web server can then decrypt that, extract out the session key, and then use that session key to create an encrypted session between the client and the server. So that then gives you that encrypted SSL connection that you can use to shop, without worrying about having your communication being intercepted.